everyone, this video is on tips for successfully getting started with the first step of doing your dog's nails. I recently saw someone struggling with every time they went to reach for their dog's foot, the dog would pull their foot away and look like they had an unpleasant experience. And the person kept trying to do it and the dog hated it more and more. So that's not a good first start to getting your dog to want to have their feet held and want to have their nails trimmed or their feet groomed or inspected for thorns. So in this video, I'm going to give you some starter tips. So if your dog really just doesn't like having their feet touched, I suggest first moving away from your dog as step one. Then the next step is getting your dog to want to move towards you and the tool that you're going to be using. And step three is getting your dog to offer their foot. For example, if you're going to be doing their feet, like clipping their nails or grooming them. To begin with, you're marking your dog's movement towards you. Good. Throwing a treat and then marking good for your dog moving towards you. Then, if you have a dog that's willing to want to move towards you, you can start holding the tools that you're going to be using. So you always want to be moving away from your dog rather than into their space, which is usually what people begin with. The dog is stationary, the person comes with something and then starts pushing it into the dog's space. That's not a great way to get a dog to be interested and feel confident about being around something new. Instead, when they make a choice to move towards it, good, you can mark and reinforce. Now you want to make sure they don't think it's like a chew toy or something like that. So you don't want to reinforce them biting down on whatever it is. Good, go get it. The next step is throwing a treat away. Good, and marking as the dog approaches the tool and then throwing the treat away again, and you can have the dog approach from different angles. Good. I have a full in-depth tutorial that I'll link in the description below that goes over every step of teaching your dog to be calm and confident when being handled and groomed. The next tip is getting your dog to offer their feet. Footy. Good. I have a video on how to train this, but very basically, you hold a treat in your hand and you see if your dog might paw at it. Good. To get the treat out of your hand. If you think your dog might scrape your hand, you can have a treat underneath some object and shake it around, good, until your dog offers their foot. Then you can shape it into the behavior of asking for the foot and having the dog hold the foot on your hand. I would get duration where the dog can put their foot on your hand where you haven't closed your hand around their foot and practice moving their foot around while they hold their foot up there. Can you do footy? So that they're a willing participant in this game and duration is happening and movement is happening while their foot is on your hand. Good job. And now the other foot. Good. Another really important tip is that you can have your dog's foot resting on your hand like this and you can feed them continuously. So you don't have to always begin and then wait and then feed and the foot comes off. You can have the dog holding your hand like that and feeding them as they have their foot on your hand like that. Good job. So that's a very good first step to build their confidence because you're not grabbing their foot. They're putting their foot in your hand. If your dog can be fearful, reactive, or even aggressive, or you're just not sure what your dog might do, maybe you think they might bite you if you try to touch them, you need to seek help from a professional trainer to help you with these exercises rather than trying on your own. Because sometimes it's hard to read the small signs if a dog is uncomfortable, especially if you're distracted by doing things as well as holding food. You can also be safe by having your dog wear a muzzle during the exercises. The next game changer tip is that you can feed as you touch your dog. Now you don't want to do it in a way that's going to be too much for the dog, but sometimes if you reach and touch, a dog might pull their foot away, or a puppy might want to bite on your hand, or they're just going to not like it as much because they're hyper-focused on what you're doing. So if you feed and touch to begin with and create a pattern before then touching and then feeding, which is the right way to do it if you want to condition an emotional response. You want the thing that you want your dog to like to come first and then to be followed by the thing that they find really reinforcing, food or toys or whatever. So here you can see I'm moving my thumb over his foot and touching it as I'm feeding him. When your dog is comfortable with this and finds it easy, you can then start to move on to touching your dog's foot with your thumb, marking, and then moving to feed a treat. Good. Good. If you do too much and your dog withdraws their paw, as you see Bliss does here, he just doesn't know what I want or he just doesn't like it, I let go of his foot, I throw a treat away to reinforce him for telling me he had enough, and then go back and use a high rate of reinforcement and decrease criteria drastically. Good. Oftentimes people rush into using the tools as soon as their dog is comfortable with having their foot held for just a second. So I suggest really proofing the behavior with manipulating the feet and doing things with the feet with no tool involved. Other footy? Good. Other footy? Good. I hope these tips were helpful for your training. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. See you later.